Grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch. No, real women don't. 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 Real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey, what's going on, ladies? It's your girl, August Crenshaw, with my co-host here, Mrs.
Pika, what's up? Pika here in Singapore, you guys. You know, she got the business, she got the mindset, I got some emotion stuff. We got to get this popping tonight.
Yes, and I'm super duper excited. So we are here. For those of you all that do not know, today is the live recording of the podcast every Monday, 2 p.m. EST. Pika and I go live together so that we can talk about the realities of entrepreneurship, encourage you all, give you some tips, give you some mojo, give you some staying power, and all of that good stuff. And this time around, the topic is going to get really, really sensitive because a lot of us are having to do it all. We are officially mompreneurs, and we are watching the kids cooking clothes, and cooking clothes. There I go again. We're cooking food.
Cooking in clothes, all of it. We're doing it all.
And that's my whole point. You know, we're doing so much, and you're having to wear the hat of being the accountant and so many other things. And so we need to talk about this. And I want to read something to you guys. I promise I'll be a little dramatic so that it isn't boring, because I want you all to know where this came from. I'm like, we got to talk about this. So my girl Imani Aisha put a post up on Facebook, and when I tell you it triggered some hell of a combo, it was insane. And I want you guys to listen to this. Let's see who this resonates with, okay? So this is what it says. It says, the mompreneur life is real. I woke up to get my 2.5, 3 hours of work in before Sovereign, that's her daughter, woke up, and 30 minutes in, she wakes up calling, Mommy. I go in her room and she tells me she's hungry. It's too early for breakfast, baby. It's still night time. At first, she doesn't believe me. Okay, she sees the silver of light coming through her window and declares that it's morning. I assure her it's not really light out yet. I kissed her forehead and head back to the office. And to my surprise, she drifted back to sleep. Cue the choir, and you know why that is, because it usually doesn't always go that smoothly. So, and that's what she basically says. She says, but the truth, you know, things don't always, maybe a better word is rarely, go that smoothly. And I imagine that that's true for a lot of us here. I know plenty of mama business owners, and all our dynamics look different. Some have older children who fend for themselves or watch over the little ones. Some have spouses who work from home too. Some have children who go to school during the day. Some live with other family who help them out. It's all different. So I tagged a few of you ladies, but I feel like most of us have heard that we can't, or we shouldn't do it all. That we can have a thriving, lucrative, fulfilling business and still foster closeness with our spouse and children. But the thing is, I won't choose. And that used to make me feel bad, because when there's a transition with my daughter or in my family, I always think, how will my business work with that shift? But I don't feel bad about that anymore. See, folks have you thinking that you can only have one priority. Of course, my family is a priority, but so is my business, because it's not a job. It's part of who I am. It's my contribution to the world. It's a fulfillment of my purpose. And that deserves priority level thinking, does it not? So agree or disagree, I absolutely think about my business when something shifts in my family. And I also think of my family when something shifts in my business. I'm determined to make sure both thrive. And in the midst of striving to make good choices to this end, I know I make some that folks find questionable, LOL. And then she got 100% in front of all of these things. She says, I set my daughter up for independent play. Yep, usually with a tablet, so I can get something else done. I juggle things in my schedule and find it clashes with something in my husband that my husband has going on, but forgot to put it on the shared calendar. Then I juggle again. I sometimes work at odd hours. I forget to put the wet laundry in the dryer. I burned up the quinoa. Let's call it Cajun. No, we're not letting you get away with that one because I'm distracted. When Sovereign falls asleep in the car doing the grocery run, I'll work in my car after, as not to wake her and lose that precious, quiet, focus time. Hashtag mobile office. But I'm showing up and I'm doing it, and I refuse to feel bad about it. I've truly shed off a lot of guilt. Hell, my daughter is home with me 10 hours, if not more, a day. I'm here. And when I'm not, I'm showing up for the thing that lights me up and changes lives. And I'm showing her what it looks like. And for me, it looks like getting off with an awesome call with the clients last night. I told them I see shifts and changes in them and in their marriage. And one woman stopped in to say she feels the difference so strong now. And that made my freaking day. This is my work in the world, and my family is my heart outside my body. And it is all my life. And I love it. Even the crazy, unexpected, patient testing parts, laughing my ass off. So what does being a mama business owner really look like for you? Please take over, Pika.
Oh, absolutely. So for those of you who don't already know, you already know, like August and I are team doing too much. We love putting our all in. There is no kind of working the business. We're always working the business. We're always working home. It's like everything at the same time. I remember when August would get on the phone with me just to catch up, not just a client call, but she's a friend of mine as well, so she'll catch up. But guess what she has? She got a Bluetooth in. She's taking care of the kids. She's, trying to cook and trying to manage the kids at the same time. We're always doing too much. And all I got to say to that is, I'll do what I do, and y'all can do what you can do about it, because you're not going to stop me. This is who I am. I've made it so that it's all a part of me. This is the brand.
Man, so what's the reality with this? I mean, Camille, you're already on here. You're a mom, you're married.
She's deemed do too much too.
You started a business from freaking scratch.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what it really looks like when you start this business thing. I know that we can, eventually get to nannies, virtual assistants and stuff like that. But what about that transition when and you're not there before the transition, and you're not there and you have to do it all? I hope you're ready to chime in. I just unmuted you.
I am. I'm ready to chime in. So let's just go with the typical summer day, right? Hey, Pika. So we're on summer break, quotation marks, over here with my kids, right? So what I had to do was, right after they got out of school, I had to put some money aside to make sure that I'm giving them some sort of a written activity during the day, so that while they're doing that, I can be doing things like checking emails, sorting out my calendar for the day, trying to figure out what's going to happen, what I'm going to do, what tasks have to get done today versus what can I put off until tomorrow. And today, classic example, they all woke up, they did their little summer bridge, but then they got bored.
Yep.
So, and I'm sitting here trying to set up automation for emails and trying to get the emails out for the week and get all this stuff typed. And I'm like, oh, I'll wake up in the morning, I'll get my emails for the entire month of July posted and scheduled, and it'll be great. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. So I have to be able to be okay with it, because I'm an organization plan hog. Like, I can plan for days. I can plan down to the millisecond if I had the option to. But I have to be careful with doing that when my kids are involved. I have to be okay with somebody's gonna have a meltdown. So if somebody has a meltdown, is it okay for me to stop what I'm doing in order to be able to do that? I have to be grateful that folks put me on mute as soon as they put me on their live podcast, because my children come barging in to ask questions just as I'm coming live on this podcast with two wonderful people. Being able to, and then giving them cues, nonverbals, the door's closed. You know what's up when the door's closed? Why are you walking in here?
Yeah.
We need that on the air sign somewhere, right?
Right, but it's all like being able to like hold my hands away from the camera, so I'm giving them motions like get away from the door, but my client can't see that I'm telling my kids to get away from the door. I do a quick glance over at the door so they don't really know that I'm about to hit that moment with y'all, and they see the look. But it's a quick look.
Look.
It looks like, so to my client, it looks like, oh, somebody must have said something. Y'all know the look. I'm off camera, but you know the look because you've given the look when you're in the middle of something really important and you can't be disturbed, but they come barging in anyway in the first face you make. Yes.
No, everything that you're saying, all of that is very real. And I saw a post the other day. It was on LinkedIn and it was from Gary Vee. And he was like, hey, in your business, you need all of these things. You need someone that's a great copywriter, a videographer. You need all of these different things. And at the end,
that's me.
Right. At the end, and in the beginning, if you're all of those things, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we're talking about this is because there are some people that I think they forget where they came from. They really, really do. And they'll talk. There's one thing about them saying, yo, you can't do all of those things. And in order for your business to scale and in order for you to advance, you need to pass everything off. You need to be in flow. But honestly, I have a client right now who has, matter of fact, I won't even use a client. I'll use myself. I remember I had all these fabulous ideas and all these wonderful things. I'm like, I can do this, and I can help entrepreneurs. And while I was working in that group, I was really learning the industry. It was severely underpriced, and the amount of effort that I put in it, I wasn't drained, but at the same time, if I kept on for too long and kept expanding that group, I would have been. So I had to cut it off. I couldn't let any more people in the group because I also had one-to-one clients. But while I was doing all of that work, I learned something about my processes. So the mastermind that you guys saw me launch, that came out of serving that group. And so there's a lot of data gathering. There's a lot of beta in starting your business for most entrepreneurs. You just know that you're a great business coach, language coach, healer. You know what you're going to do, but finding your lane, how you do what you do, the formulation for the way that you offer your products and services is in the testing. And so, luckily it wasn't just with a free focus group, it was with a paid coaching group, but I couldn't have been thinking scale. And you guys know we did the podcast episode a couple of weeks ago talking about, wanting to scale too soon. I couldn't scale. I couldn't pass stuff on. I literally had to get into the trenches and learn a lot of these things myself. And to be honest with you, let's think about it. Like even from the financial perspective, looking over my money, making sure payments were coming through, getting on people if their card was declined. oh, no, you have an accountant, you got a CPA, you know, all of that stuff becomes big, lofty terminology. And part of what's wrong with a lot of entrepreneurs, not even entrepreneurs, think about the athletes and stuff like that. They get somebody to manage their money, and because they don't know what's going on with their money, it gets managed all right. And people live on a high horse off of them. So there are certain things in your business that you absolutely have to understand and you have to know. And let's just bring it in here. You're also broke. Most people actually started a deficit. And it's not a negative because it's an investment in your business, but it's like in order to get the information to make the money, you got to pay somebody to show you, but you already not making the money. And God forbid you actually make an investment that wasn't a good one and you don't get a good turnaround. Your price points are all the way off, even though you are making money in your business. Daycare, if you got more than one child, is as expensive or more than expensive than rent. And so there's some real dilemmas. And so we're here to let you guys know that it's okay. It's okay if you're doing everything yourself. But what you noticed is that you guys both gave examples of how you've had to transition. How you've had to transition to still be there for your babies. You know, what does it look like? You know, I had my mind on I'm going to accomplish these things. But then I had to switch gears because this is what the dynamic was looking like. And I know that I've had to do that. I've had to say, some of my clients have seen me and I was supposed to do a live video and I'm outside walking and my kids are running through the complex playing. Why? Because they just really wanted to get outside. I'm like, hey, you guys, and I would even flip the screen. Look at my babies, they're running, but here's your nugget or here's your tip for the day, because I needed to let them spread their wings and fly. There have been other times where I've just put in a message and said, hey, I'm going to go live later. We're going to make an adjustment in the schedule, you know, whatever it is. But these are some of the realities of what we go through in the beginning until you get your bearings, until your kids get better disciplined and understand what it looks like that mommy's working. You know, so talk about that. You know, how do you kind of prioritize the transitions? How do you manage, you know, the crying and the need for mommy or the demands from spouse? Because we got Camille's on here. She's married. I'll talk about mine later. You're single, Pika, but how do you adjust? How do you make those calls on what is the priority?
It's so hard. And something that Camille said earlier, she really likes to plan things down and she can plan it down to the minute. And that's amazing for her. But I'm not a detailed person like that. And I learned a long time ago, if I tell her anything, if I say that, you know, I'm going to go live at this time and then we're going to do this at this time, she's going to hold me to it and she's going to flip out if we are 5 minutes late. And in order not to deal with that, I'm not going to tell her nothing. I may have a plan in my mind, like a loose plan, but in order for her not to be so upset, to manage her emotions and however she's feeling about, you know, how I put her as a priority or not, however she's feeling in that moment, I don't tell her a lot of things. And honestly, there was a big shift from working for someone else and having them tell me that I don't care if you have a daughter or not, the job comes first. And that was hard for me. So I had to leave. And that's why my job became more important, because that way I could control what kind of quality of life we had. And even then, having her go to school versus not being in school. Camille, you mentioned that there's summer break right now. US, it's July. Y'all are on summer break. She had a month off. She's back in school already. And that month off was great for her, but it was hard for me business-wise because I had to manage, again, like her expectations because she's home. And then when I'm live and when I'm not. So a lot of times I'd be like, hey, you're watching Netflix, right? I'm going to be live. I'm going to be recording a video in the room. I will be out in a minute. So she knows, don't come knock, don't bust open unless it's really urgent, and we'll handle it afterwards. But that growing pain until she understood what I was talking about, to manage her expectations, man, that was tough. And there were a lot of like, oh my God, stop. You know, I'm like over here talking beneath my breath. You can't see my mouth or whatever. Yeah, a lot of what Camille said, I had to go through too. I know a lot of you do. But you need to give yourself grace to get through those moments. It's just hard.
Yeah, wait till I get to the from the hands on the breast to the feet on the ear to remind me to say something about that. Be like, huh? What is she talking about? How do you make the judgment call to me?
And I think even when you even set up those parameters, like, hey, this is what the deal is. You know, if the door is closed, that means I'm busy. Hey, I'm getting ready to go do this. So, you know, I need you to be quiet. But still, the child emergencies are very different than the adult emergencies. So I might say, hey, I need you all to be quiet. And they decide being quiet is going to be wrestling. And somebody hits their head on the table. And all of a sudden I hear a boom. In the middle of a live video. And I have to keep my composure, keep going with the video, hope that everything is okay. So long as I don't see a child come to the door with blood gushing down their face, I know we're good. And then be able to get off the video and come back and then say, okay, look, y'all know y'all are doing too much. Y'all know what the deal is. And have those conversations later. But sometimes in the midst, because I know, August, you're getting ready to talk about it, my kids jump in the middle of the video. Yes. I just kind of bring them on in. Come on, baby. It's fine. Sit in my lap while I finish this live. Or let me just tell you real quick in Spanish, since I'm giving them a grammar note anyway. Don't talk to me right now.
Yeah, it's funny because when I first started my business, my husband was doing contractor work. So he was gone most of the time during the day. And so for those of you that have been following me for a while, you would see me doing the live video. And for those of you that are watching live, you see these little bitty fingers that would just be right here moving. A lot of people didn't know that I would kind of be leaned forward. And the only way that I could keep my son quiet was to let him nurse while I was doing a live video. There were times before I had a phone mount and I was doing Uber. That was my quiet time. And so I would be in my car. I became the live video driving queen. I was always on the phone, working like that. I totally get what Imani was talking about where, I was going to do one thing, but they're asleep. And you know how it is. You don't want to move them out of their position because once you do, then they wake up. And so now I want to say within the last month, my son has really began to understand it. My oldest daughter, she'd be like, Mommy's getting ready to do a podcast. And she would knock on the door and Larry would come and she'd be like, no, man, leave Mommy alone. He would come and sit next to me. I'd be on the bed and y'all might see these little feet coming up here by my ear. Really? So you're going to lay on the bed and you're going to put your feet up on, my ear, while I'm talking. And honestly, a lot of you, my biggest word of encouragement for that, number one, is most of you, you're going to be working with women who also have children, who need to see that, like you said, it's not the same as a job where you have to choose and say, oh God, they're not going to give me time off. I can't do this. And sometimes you do keep on pushing with the kids and sometimes you pull back. And one of the hardest things that I had to help a couple of my clients understand was, look, when the kids bust in, still do it. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes I do live videos and I know my kids are going to come in and interrupt because for a while, I think that people had a false, a misconception that, oh God, everything is just perfect and the kids are out of the way. And that doesn't even always work because sometimes I want to ask my husband, what are y'all doing? Y'all out there playing. And how is it that y'all all the way over there, but I still hear you all the way over here? And so that's that one dynamic, but then the multitasking, okay? You got laundry, you have the food, you have the cleanliness of your house, and you also have the work that you need to do. You trying to figure out how to market yourself. You trying to keep in contact with your email list. You want to do sales call, connection calls, and you juggling, should you be on LinkedIn and a Facebook, and, should you throw in a third, platform or not? So you have your multitasking in the business, you're multitasking in your life. And the bottom line is that ultimately it does get overwhelming. And I had a client recently who has experienced a lot of illness and a lot of death in her family. And we had a very long, extensive conversation. I just felt like reaching out to her out of the blue to make sure that she was okay. And I'm really excited because she came in the group and she said, I don't even know how, but somewhere in here, I signed a contract for this and got a deal done for that. And this is how much money is going to be brought into my business. And I was about ready to fall. I was about ready to give up. But thank you, August, for the call, because you didn't know it. I didn't say it, but I was ready to quit. And so that's the other thing, you know, I'm kind of just rambling out a lot of stuff. What does your circle look like? And I know that all of my clients at some point, even when it doesn't make a difference if they've been one-to-one or if they've been in a group, if my spirit feels led to reach out to someone, I reach out to them. And I still have yet to this day for it not to be at one of those deal breaker moments where they've needed to be encouraged. And so what you need is you need other women around you and other sisters telling you what you can do instead of telling you what you can't do and how hard it's going to be, because it doesn't last forever. You know, everybody's labor isn't the same, but you know, the labor pains come, but baby, when you birth that vision, it's a beautiful thing. So, you know, I don't know how you ladies want to chime into everything that I just said.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so many aspects to that. Like recently you were doing the capture your clients with live video challenge, right? Mm-hmm. And we're over here in the challenge thinking, okay, how do I muster up the courage to get on live video? And you're absolutely right. Our kids jump in. My daughter jumps in. She wants to answer questions for clients or whoever's asking questions. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. But it's part of being authentic, right? We had another young lady who's in our tribe who was talking about, you know, I have trouble being authentic sometimes, but it's important because the audience need to know we're still human. We don't want to be perfect. We don't have all the answers all the time. We're not composed all the time, but that's how you know we're real. We're going through it too. We're not making all the stuff up. We've lived through these things. There's just so many things, so many feelings that go into all of this. I know there are so many times as a business owner where I have the housework and I got the office work, right? And sometimes I don't want to do the office work. So I busy myself with the housework and forget that this stuff still needs to get done too. So it's a matter of managing myself and managing my house and managing all the different types of work, because it's all the little piles of stuff that belong to different categories of part of who we are, right? So yeah. There's so much to it. There is so much to it. So being a one-man band ain't no joke. Yeah. We see you out there hustling. Keep going.
Don't stop.
Yeah. And it is definitely hard. And I know for me, because I'm that person where it's difficult for me to be able to focus on my work tasks if my house looks crazy. So I have to be able to actually schedule in, all right, look, you got 15 minutes so that the office is straightened up the way that you need to be straightened up, and to clear your view. So that means that if you got to walk to the bathroom during the day, you got 15 minutes to get the office straight and that path clear, so that you don't get distracted by the other stuff around you, so that when I'm walking to the bathroom, I don't see that this is happening or that this is happening. So if you need to sweep this area so that you don't stop working, then you got 15 minutes before you start your day to be able to do that. Because I know because I'm that person that will sit there and be looking out at the office and like, oh man, I need to dust that thing right there. And I'll get up and I'll dust that. And I go, well, since I'm up, let me go and since I got this, I might as well just knock out these dishes. Oh, let me just make sure that, and then I look up, hours are gone because I got distracted. So I have to be able to even add into my work day, you got 15 minutes of cleaning, that's it. And you got to clean it so that your view, whatever your view is, be it out the door, out the window, or walking to the bathroom, or walking to get a cup of water, all of that stuff needs to be clear so that you don't get distracted. And sometimes that means closing the laundry room door. Can't even look over there.
I mean, that's real. Totally. That's real. And I am a neat freak to a degree, you know. And my husband, he's not nasty, but he ain't neat like me. And I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old that don't care what they do or how, I mean, a 6-year-old now that don't care where they throw all of the items. And I have to do the exact same thing. The area in which I'm working, because there is something about having a place that's calm and peaceful and clear that's very conducive for productivity. But think about it, ladies, if you had a 9-to-5, those things, they wouldn't be tended to. And so, you know, it's hard sometimes to not do the things that you see, but you do have to make a decision and let them go. And you have to change your standards, you know. And so for me, I just don't like dishes in the sink. And I'm the kind of person, when I wash them, I like them dried and immediately put into the cabinet. Well, you know what? Washing them and putting them in a dishwasher, you know, that just might be what it is. And I've had to settle with that because those are preferences, but it isn't a necessity. And some of you guys are holding on to some values, you know, but I just want, and some of those things you got to let go of. But let me just read some of these comments because they're going in. Wow. And so Viv Inspiring says she's catching the live while she's planning for the week. So, hey, talking about it. So give yourself some grace while you're planning, you know, yes. Beautiful. Imani said, I tried to scale in the beginning with a bunch of laughing faces. The marketing got me. I was nowhere near ready. Got a couple of wows. I absolutely do. And right. Imani says, I can't figure out this game. Not an emergency. And for kids, it is. My kids will run a heartbeat because the password on the Kindle isn't working. She said, case in point, I'd pop in on the Zoom, but Sav is is a 9 on the noise meter. Wow. And I was going to ask you if you could pop in, and maybe between now and the next 30 minutes, she'll calm down. But yeah. And you know what? Remember when you did the post, I actually took some pictures when she put that post up showing how my kids had toys all over the place. And we're laughing and we're going back and forth. We're commenting and we're putting gifts up. And then all of a sudden my daughter starts screaming, oh, because she had a paper cut on her finger. And so just like that, we went from laughs and look, as Austin Powers would say, shits and giggles to to a bunch of crying. And so the dynamic can change very quickly. And so then I ended up taking a picture of my little baby sitting there with the pouty face, but things, change really quickly. She says, you don't want to yell at them and then have a meltdown in the middle of a live, right? You don't want your parents in question. Damari might be watching, LOL. She said, I've had to strategize the calmest ways to diffuse the situation. How about I've sat there and did a live and I decided to lock the door and I had to deal with this. And I'm sitting there grabbing the phone, texting my husband. How y'all doing? And we talking about the point. Get your fucking kids, you know what I'm saying, at the same time. And then my bad. Husbands have a tendency to sleepwatch their kids. I'm just saying, when they on duty, I'm like, I don't know if I want you to be here with me because they don't necessarily do the best job. But yes, you said, and how about loving clients from the West Coast? Oh my God. That are 3 hours behind you and have a call super late in your time zone after their bedtime. Yes. Hey, I have on occasion, I need to go ahead and be the one that's up at 11 o'clock at night or midnight for you, because you're always making a sacrifice because you work with so many people that are over here. Pika, man. Look, she said, my circle speaking amazing. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. Thought Facebook was hating on me in my comments. Oh, wow. No. I had to move the thing over to be able to see him. Sav just got sad because she heard you say Nene had a paper cut. Oh, sorry. I love you too. So, yeah, that's a lot, right? That's
Can I throw something else in there?
Yeah.
How many of y'all watching are homeschool moms and business owners? Let's talk about that.
There you go. And once again, that's another dynamic. And so I'm wondering, people are listening and you're enjoying it. You're liking the fact that we're saying that you can do it, but what are you thinking? What are you thinking? How are you feeling? Somebody got some questions. You want to give some pushback, or are you trying to process how to go through something? Has somebody told you something different? You can click the link. I put the link in the comments on all of the posts, I believe. I got to all of them. Come in, because I want to hear what you're wrestling with. Go ahead.
I got a question, and this is, people can put this in the comments. They can hop in and answer this question, but I want to know, who are the folks around you that are kind of perpetuating this myth that you got to do everything? They might not necessarily say exactly, I don't understand why you at home all day. Why aren't you washing dishes? But there might be little things that might be where you might turn to someone and ask them for help, and you might hear a sigh before they actually do it. And you feel as though, well, dag, I'm just asking for help because you know that I'm doing this sort of thing. Or you might ask someone to do you a favor, watch your child for a couple of hours so you can get some work done. You hear, well, I'm really busy, but and all of those things start to make you feel as though, you know what, maybe I'm supposed to do all of this myself. So my question is for the ladies, who are those folks that are around you that are causing you to believe as though you need to do all the things that is giving you more burnout than is necessary?
Oh,
let me add to that, because I had a conversation with Anitra the other day, and she was like, yes, we home office, right? Home office versus going out of the house to work, because that means we, like you said, Camille, we have to avoid seeing the mess that we want to clean because we got other stuff that we need to work on, right? But on top of that, not just the people that you call for help. What about the people that call you for help because they figure you're just sitting at home anyway? Why don't you come give me a ride? Why don't you come pick me up? Why don't you take me to breakfast? Why don't you do this? Like, I have work. Yeah, but you work from home. Yeah, but I work.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about as soon as she said that. And so in that, so I'm feeling both of you guys, and I know that, you look at those two dynamics, and I'm really big on circles. I'm really big on circles.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you got to diss everybody that's around you just because they're not entrepreneurs and they don't understand, but it is highly important for you to get around other entrepreneurs that do understand. That way, from time to time when you do stuff, they can have your back. Like, for instance, when we did the podcast, when we did the business summit, we did a watch party here. Well, the ladies brought their children with them. They didn't know what the dynamic was going to be. Larry's probably going to take the kids out. I'm like, no, bring your kids. It's a watch party. So parties are wild, they're crazy, they're noisy, whatever. But I know already that you have children. So why do something where you can't? Yes, I want my clients to be very laser focused on their sessions, but you know what? There have been times where it was like they had important launches coming up. They just had an important dilemma that was going on, and they didn't have that situation with their children. I'm like, baby, just let her lay on your lap. Go ahead and bring her, it's going to be okay. And then went through the session, and if they were talking or making noise in the background, I just cut my mommy ears on. And y'all know we got mama ears. Them ears where it's like, mama, answer me. Oh, shoot, I wasn't even trying to hear nothing you were saying. I was focused, so we know how to tune out. We know how to tune out the noise. But so that's my one thing, but having women around you that are going to be sensitive to it is important. And that will help you and support you. And people that don't help and don't support, you might want to question how close they really should be to you while you're going through this transition. A lot of times relationships, they get kind of low. You lose a lot of people because of that. But on the other end, some of the times, and I've had clients come with the exact same thing that you said. Hey, coach, I didn't get this done. This got distracted. This person asked me to do this, and this took this long. I'm like, but that was your time to be working anyway. This is your business, and you need to make sure that you are focused on doing your business too. And so a lot of you that are chiming in, you may be making money in your business, but because you're not making the kind of money in your business, you're not quote unquote serving clients. You also treat your business like you have free time that you don't. If you don't have clients, then I'm going to need you to be doing connection calls, et cetera, so that you can get you some clients. You need to be writing sales copy, creating launches. You need to be doing some form of money-making activities in order to get that money up. And so that's something else for you to take into consideration. Are you setting the appropriate boundaries so that you can get the stuff that you need to get done? Because just like avoiding the dishes and the housework and stuff like that, some of you guys need to turn off some of the distractions that you have because it's something that you're allowing.
Yep, absolutely. And I kind of feel like being a business owner is kind of like a crash course in adulting. Suddenly you have to work on time management. You have to prioritize what's important, what's not, what's going to make you money, like you said, and what's not. Whether you really need that Netflix subscription or not, because how many hours is kind of, you're just losing stuff everywhere. There's so many things we need to work on, and all of it is mindset work. The first thing you talked about when we did the challenge was mindset. It's mindset. Everybody came with their, I can't do it because I'm not ready because, and you were like, no, this is mindset. And where you weren't trying to give like business coaching in that workshop, you kind of had to a little because they got to wrap their minds around what's about to happen next. This was a crash course in adulting for me. There were so many things I was not prepared to do. There were so many things that I was not doing that showed the world that this was my business and I was proud of it. How long did it take me from the time I first met you to go live, talk about myself as a business owner who is open for business to serve other people? Like, it was until what, this weekend?
But it came nevertheless.
It's not meant to be easy. It's not meant for everybody, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. And I have Lynn and Tomasa on here talking about how they've managed their lives so that Lynn has her 16-year-old that helps her with the dishes. Tommaso's talking about, yes, that's why I get out of the house, to get rid of the distractions when I need to do administrative work. So she's figured herself out. A lot of it is figuring yourself out. What can and can't you do so that you can get the work done? Do you have other comments coming up too?
No, I was also looking at her comment too, where she was saying that she looks back over her life when she was doing the mommy thing and working my biz. I remember taking them to the yoga studio with me while they waited in the waiting area, and I worked on clients. I look back at it and I don't know how I did it: run a business, take classes, and be a full-time mommy. Plus, I was married, and now the dynamic in her relationship is completely. I mean, in her business is completely different, but you know, it made her a stronger, more brilliant, vibrant woman, and she has peace and calm. But guess what, y'all? The creator of that post, Imani Aisha, my only marriage I go to, is here. Come on, Imani.
Yes.
Give us jewels, baby. Give us some jewels.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You can't see me though, right?
No, I didn't make the same mistake.
We love the voice. We need the voice. Let's go.
Okay. You know, I have a minute, y'all. But no, I was speaking to I mean, that's real. I mean, everything that you guys are saying, I've been chiming in the comments. And speaking to Camille's question about asking for help, one of the things that I realized so quickly was how much I needed help. And it was just like, there's so much conflict with, should you ask for help? You should, like you say, you should be able to do this alone. Are people doing underhanded things? I don't do underhanded things, people. If somebody asks me for help, if I can't do it, I'm going to say I can't do it. I'm not going to be like, well, I'll do it, but, you know, I was going to go to the gym. And I just had that happen to me not long ago, to someone that's really dear to me. And I needed their help to watch Sovereign for a couple hours. And she said yes, but it was like, but I was going to go and do X. And I was kind of hurt because that's never happened before. It wasn't the precedent, but it does trigger this whole, see, this is why, this is why folks don't ask for help, because they feel like they're being a burden to someone, as opposed to someone just saying yay or nay. When you say, I feel like it's worse when you say yay, and then you add that you're really inconveniencing the hell out of me, you know?
For real.
And it's, yeah. And so you have to look at, you know, who's around you. Now, my husband will help me. Like, there's been times I went to his job and had client calls in my car just with audio, so that, you know, the video depended on the signal. And he watched Sovereign on his lunch break while but he can't always do that. So it's a juggle. I mean, these are the kind of things I've told August. I've had client calls back when we had a 1-bedroom apartment. Okay. I had no office space. My husband and I slept in the living room. My daughter was in the room. I mean, I've been in laundry rooms. I've been in closets taking calls. I mean, this is just part of my personal reality. And I know that I'm not the only one. So it gets real, but I still have to ask for help. Like, despite the fact that maybe somebody feels some type of way about it, I know that I need it. And I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, well, I've got to ask for it.
No, absolutely. And I know that's why the women that I am around, if I am me personally, I will say that I will help. And I can honestly tell you, I'm in a completely different season in my life. Because when I lived in St. Louis, you know, first of all, I had been a hairstylist for 20 years. My children were acclimated to what the environment was supposed to look like. And so were my clients with dealing with my children. And they were always gone to somebody's birthday party or some type of function at somebody's church or what have you. But now that I'm down here in Atlanta, a lot of people, you know, you take for granted. You see beast mode, but you have no idea. I literally have no family support here whatsoever. And, you know, I ain't knocking nobody, but ain't none of the grandmamas in St. Louis talking about send me my babies for the summer. You know, I don't even get a 2-week or 1-week break or 1-month break or a summer vacation. Everything is literally on me and my husband. We team, we all we got. CMB, am I my brother's keeper? You know what I'm saying? Up in this joint. And so we still have to make it work. And one of the things that we don't do, if we do, we check ourselves, is about not being resentful about the journey, because, you know, it teaches you better prioritization. It teaches you better communication. You know, with me and him, we communicate better, we prioritize better. It also teaches you how to be more efficient and effective. I get a lot of things done very quickly that other people may take all day with. And when I'm in a zone and I can move, I do it. You know, the whole thing, and this is not about me complaining, but it's just the point that I think more of you guys that are chiming in, you need to hear more women that are willing to tell these stories, because you're hearing too many people telling you about the good life, what it looks like to have the things that in one season of their life, they didn't have it either. And I know many of my clients have wanted to give up at some point. Even if they didn't really want to give up, their head was contemplating it. Their heart didn't want to. But then when I would say, oh, yeah. I remember when I was juggling a job and building my business too. Oh, my goodness. I remember when my children didn't understand this. That encouragement, I had a lot of clients say to me, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for making it clear. Thank you for letting me know, because now I know that I can get through. And so that's why you guys hear me be so transparent all the time and tell you some of the transitions that I've went through, even though I'm not going through those things anymore, because I never want somebody to keep looking at the progression of my business and be like, oh, well, you know, she got it together and it's unfair. Everybody, I have a saying, and that is struggle is struggle, and it knows how to hit every single one of us where it will hurt the most. And so what's a struggle for you may not be a struggle for me, and that's not where I'm going to get attacked at. We all have to deal with our, you know, respective places, you know, in this journey. You know, we're kind of winding down towards the end. I'm glad we got a couple people on here. I know, Imani, you might have to get off of here the fastest. I would love for you guys to just, you know, drop some wisdom off. And I'm even going to read some wisdom that it looks like Lynn has on here while you guys get your final thoughts together to, you know, share with these ladies. One of her comments says, heck, no is no. And I have boundaries. I've worked to get to that place. I've learned that I have the business in my name, but my family benefits, so they will help with the work. So create your family dynamic in your home, set great boundaries, and remember that no is a complete sentence, is the way that I would summarize the words of wisdom that come from Lynn. And Imani, you want to chime in? I'll unmute you so we don't do the tit for tat thing. Well, maybe I will, or maybe you have to unmute yourself. It's not working for me unless you were doing it simultaneously.
Oh yeah, you hear me? I think we were doing it simultaneously.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the thing that I spoke to about, you know, kind of pushing through to ask for help when you need it, which to me kind of goes along with maintaining your sanity and the ability not to completely let yourself go or get sick, because you know that's not good for your business either, you know. And so really being able to do that when we know, if we're honest, it's something that's difficult for a lot of us to do. I talk to a lot of girlfriends who say it's really difficult to ask for help when you need it. And working on whatever mindset step you have to do to work through that, and to take small steps and asking for small things. Like maybe you just ask for something when things aren't frantic, so you can get a sense of, okay, there are people out there who will support me, and kind of go from there. And yeah, I agree with Lynn on the boundaries and knowing that you're doing your business for a reason, and it's important to you, and it's important to your family, and that's yes, baby. And that's something that still should be at the forefront of your mind, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, come on, Camila, give them some wisdom, beautiful. Unmute yourself so I don't have to fight with y'all with the mute button.
I think for me, the biggest piece of advice I would love for women to be able to understand is that who you are when you decide to start your business is going to be very different than who you are once you're in it. Meaning you might think that in the beginning, before you even launch a single thing, oh, I got this. It's okay. All I have to do is this, and I'll be able to get through it. And then realizing that once you actually start the business and start doing stuff and getting clients and doing the work that needs to come in, you're going to shift, you're going to change, you're going to be very different. And I think you need to be able to, the advice I have as women, you need to be able to be okay with that. And you have to set the standard to make sure that others are okay with that too. Because you're not just changing for yourself and for your business, but you are changing when it comes to what you're able to do and how you're able to provide for your family. And you can't let the pressures of them wanting you to be the person before you started the business interfere with you being able to be successful in both places.
Yes. Come on, peekaboo.
For me, it's more about give yourself the grace, give yourself space to fail, because it's not going to be perfect every time. Just now, I had to move from where I was sitting because I'm in a one room with baby girl, and she just had a nightmare. So I'm trying to put her back to sleep, but it's about 3:00 in the morning, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to work while she's asleep, while I can watch her from my desk and make sure that she's, comfortable while I do the work that makes me happy. But in the meantime, I know it's not always going to work well. Earlier, before the podcast, I had a very long day. I'm happy that I had a long day, but it was a choice of, okay, well, do I stay awake and push through, or do I take a quick nap and make sure that I'm well rested and able to chime in and really give and serve the way I want to in this podcast? And it's not always that easy decision. We are so good at putting everybody else's needs ahead of our own that self-care is another part of that adulting thing we got to learn when it comes to being a business owner. Sometimes you have the help, sometimes you don't. Right now, I take advantage of whenever I do have help. My mom happens to be staying with us right now. She'll be gone another couple of weeks, but while she's here, baby girl has somebody else to, hang out with. And that means I take full advantage. And when I do have clients that I can meet in person where normally I couldn't, I'm going to go make sure I do that. I'm going to put that extra effort in. So it's not one size fits all. You won't always have the answers. Yes, your circle is absolutely important. Please take care of yourself, because the business doesn't work if you're not able to work.
Absolutely. And so the wisdom that I want to give you guys is this. Number one, I remember I had a client and had a situation where everything was haywire, and she had, kids, and she was like, oh my God, and I'm just so exhausted. And she was even tired in the session. And she's like, even after this is over, I got a collaboration call with this person and so on and so forth. And yes, Miss Beast and Queen did not say, that's all right. You just push through. You could do it. I was like, hey, just reach out to the person and tell them you got to reschedule. They're like, yeah, I thought about that and I can kind of feel it because I'm so exhausted. But she was so determined to quote unquote honor her word or whatever. And she showed up on that Zoom call. And the other person was exhausted too. They fell asleep and never made it. And so involuntarily, she had a place and a space to kind of just regroup and then woosah and restart. And I even told her, I said, I honestly believe that when things are happening with us in the universe, that simultaneously it's working out like that for other people. And so that's the biggest thing, when you've pushed and your intentions are good, listen to your intuition. Listen to what your body is telling you. Yes, for a woman that works a lot and does a lot, don't ever get it twisted to think that I don't pay attention to those subtle voices that say, just relax. And sometimes regrouping is 15 minutes of sitting still. Sometimes regrouping is sleeping for an entire day, because maybe you didn't do a lot physically, but mentally and emotionally, like with me doing the 5-day challenge, I gave a lot and I absorbed a lot because I'm an empath. And so I had to regroup. And so you got to give yourself the option and the opportunity to do that. As a business coach, I know that if you're not working with someone like me, you cannot see it. But the things that you think are important are not. I know you be like, I got to be consistent. I got to show up. And I haven't gone live in, 2 or 3 days, and that's just going to look bad. Listen to me. Consistency and doing different tasks is not the singular key to success. Everything's going to come together What is not easy will eventually be in flow. Just make sure that whatever you do, that you don't disappear and that you do still show up. But you've got to give yourself some grace. You've got to fall back sometimes and say, you know what, I can and I will come back to this later. And have those intuitive moments when you feel like something is full of purpose and you need to do something, then you rest. And you ride the supernatural strength. You'll know when to push through because you'll be sitting there saying to yourself, I don't even know how my eyes are still awake, but I'm still doing this type of situation. And so you'll know the balance of when you're supposed to push, like doing that extra, come on, like a training coach telling you can do 5 more reps. And you're like, no, and your arms are shaking. Sometimes you got to do that. But I promise you, you will feel the nudge in your spirit. You will feel the call in your soul to keep going. But when that keep going is a push, pushing is really hard in business. Don't do that to yourselves. So that's it. This is one of those discussions that, we can take a whole bunch of different ways and break out different segments of it. Imani and I have done that in the past, had podcast episodes where we talked about juggling your relationship with your spouse and your business. And, I've talked to Damari, juggling relationships with your children while you're being a mompreneur. But at the end of the day, if you didn't get anything, give yourself some grace. Don't stop showing up. Don't be resentful if the journey seems a little bit hard. Get yourself a circle so that you can have people telling you what you can do instead of always pointing a finger and telling you what you shouldn't do and what you can't do. And I don't know, Pika, you look like you might have wanted to say one more last thing before we get out of here.
Don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. Rest if you have to. Okay. Take a break. Do something completely unrelated for a couple minutes if you need to. Don't quit. You got this. You can.
Yeah, so thank you for everybody that chimed in for the podcast today. Remember, we are live every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we would absolutely love you guys to, throw topics. I'm always trolling, looking at y'all stuff and finding stuff to talk about anyway, anywho. But if there's anything that you want us to discuss in regards to business, emotion, relationships, or whatever, that's what we're here for. It's all about discussing what you need for your journey. And by the way, for those of you that did miss the Facebook Live challenge, not on a totally different tangent. This is really super duper important. Part of what will give you some of the ease with running your business is knowing what to do in the most effective manner. And if there's one thing that I'm very good at is bringing ease to creating content, bringing ease to helping you understand how to show up visually. You can still go to augustcrenshaw.com, go to the live video tab. You only have to pay $47. All of the trainings and the recordings are in the group. And in addition to that, if you sign up now, you're going to be a part of a 30-day blitz to do a 28-day wide challenge to help you get some publicity and get eyes on you. I've had yet to have someone do the challenge and not begin to get a lot of client inquiries. It's a very beautiful thing. And so I want to welcome you all to be a part of that. And if you decide to stay in the group, because I'll drop in live nuggets and do the live challenge from time to time, you can have a subscription for $9.99 and just have permanent access to everything. It's a really super duper awesome community with some powerhouses in there. And so please join us. We'd be glad to have you. And we are going to get out of here until next week. Speaker, get you some sleep. Get next to that baby cuddle.
Thank you. You guys, thank you so much for joining. We'll see you next week, yeah?
Yes, we will. Deuces. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk, then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless, signing out. Deuces!
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in